All right, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast. Well, I like to say we're burning down the house so we can rebuild it and do amazing things together. We have another amazing guest here with us today. Chris, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Ron. I don't know if I can match that energy on a Monday night, but I'm going to try.
Well, I believe in just bringing it because that's what the champions out there want. They want Ron Nussbaum to show up, bring the intensity, and bring the excitement. So I'll carry it for us both. It's not that hard of a deal for me.
Giddy up, I'm in.
All right, Chris. So you run an amazing coaching company. You have it's exceptional track record with marketing and developing companies. And we got introduced to each other because you work within the construction world and in that realm. And what I want to know is what excites you about what's happening right now?
I think the biggest thing that excites me right now is that the guys that want to work, there's work out there for them. And the biggest challenge I hear as a sales coach typically isn't that we can't find the work. It's that we can't find the people that want to help us do the work. So it's an interesting time in my business, but I still have a lot of clients that they want the right client and not as much that they're going to take any job because they're not going to sacrifice their margins. They're not going to deal with difficult people. They're not going to go chasing stuff that they can't be their best at or take a job that's a little outside of what their specialty is. They're not handymen, right? They're not trying to be a jack of all trades. They're experts or professionals in what they do. So it's kind of fun helping them really focus on defining their ideal client profiles and then working with people that are serious about having professionals do the work.
That is super exciting because right now we are at a time where the work is there. It's been there. It continues to be there. As much as people say we're headed into a recession or we're in a recession, people are still spending money on their houses. They're still building. They're still doing those projects. So that is super exciting. So I'm going to ask you the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
I went back and I listened to a bunch of episodes, and I'm trying not to plagiarize what somebody else said. And first of all, by the way, I didn't realize after listening to the first episode or until I listened to the first episode that you were a Marine, or you are a Marine, I should say. So yeah, thank you for your service. A couple of my really good clients are Marines, and they really get what we do because they're used to order and process, and we teach sales process. So it goes really well with it. But as far as the champion mentality, the episode that I listened to just before was about helping the guy behind you. And I also believe not just in helping the guy behind you, but also the paying it forward attitude. There's an old saying in the military about leading from the front. And then I had a commander once tell me, you lead from where you're needed. So if you're jumping out of a plane, you better be the last guy in the stick to prove to your guys under fire that you're going to be the last guy out, that you're willing to take the most, risk. Or on the flip side, if you're going over a hill, you should be the first guy up front. So I like the thing that he said about helping the guy behind you, but I also like the part about paying it forward to the guys that did it before you, where giving them their compliment, giving them their props, giving them their praise. And again, sometimes there's some old dogs that need to learn some new tricks. And just because they were doing it great for a long time, there's new technologies, there's new products, like this one guy I know that has this, platform for communication for the construction industry that might be different than the guys that, hey, I've had a Nextel that I've been chirping my guys on the site for years and we ain't going to change. It's going to be helping everyone around you. So I'm not contradicting what the other guy said, but for me, the champion is the one that looks around their environment and offers a helping hand to anybody that might be seeking it.
I love that because it is important as business owners to kind of be a Swiss Army knife, if I may, like where you can get in there and this is where I'm needed. This is where I can lead the best from right now. But you do this kind of stuff all the time. So I guess a question that I would have when it comes to that is how do you keep guys from getting not necessarily in the weeds, but kind of backtracking and moving themselves into a leadership, or not a leadership role, but moving into a role that they should be hiring for, instead of saying, this is where I fit right now. Because I think the water could get really muddy with that.
It's a great question and a very timely question. My next door neighbor Mike is an electrician, and then he started doing some handyman work, and now he's going back to get his builder's license here in the Detroit area and wants to be a GC. And one of my clients is a guy that is a GC that does a lot of residential remodeling, kitchens, baths, additions, that kind of stuff. Some new construction, but mostly what Mike wants to get into. And I introduced the two of them and said, you guys, Mike's my next door neighbor and my buddy, and our kids go to school together, and you're my client. And I didn't get into the business to make friends. I got in the business to make money. But sometimes along the way, you really do become friends with your clients. And so in this case, I introduced Kurt to Mike, and just, my wife and I were big fans of the show Ted Lasso. Hey, if nothing else, y'all just met a cool person, right? You two should meet, you two should connect. And I was in the room. It was my kitchen. Kurt was in town for a concert. Mike came over for a cocktail, met Kurt's wife. And the biggest piece of advice that Kurt gave to Mike that really hammered home to me was, you will make more money when you're not swinging a hammer and not wearing your tool belt. And because right now Mike's a one-man show, he'll bring in some subs on what he's doing, he'll bring in some other people, but he's doing the design, he's doing the ordering, he's doing the install, he's accepting deliveries, he's collecting payments. And Kurt went, hey, that's how we all got started. But the quicker you can find a project manager, the quicker you can find a designer, the quicker you can find an accounts receivable office manager, the more that you can focus on sales and keeping more business coming in, more coal into the plant, the more money you're going to make. And that's what I go back to, as Kurt said to Mike, I make a lot more money when I take my tool belt off. And that really kind of struck home to me. And again, these guys being in, about an hour and 15 minutes away from each other, they're never going to be direct competitors on a job. And they're just both good people that, like I said, getting back to the champions thing, Kurt's one of those guys that I would introduce you to and recommend you have him on the cast, because that's what he's always been, looking for good guys, good people to help out. So I hope that answered your question in a bit of a roundabout way, but I thought it was appropriate for the question.
Yeah, because all too often we find ourselves just not moving away from the day to day. And I've had guy after guy after guy on here that has said that. It's like, the sooner I've realized I needed to hire myself and just out of jobs and bring people in, the faster I could grow, the more customers I could take care of, and the bigger impact we could have long term. So how do you help guys do that? What's your magic sauce for that?
I'd like to say I have a magic sauce, but Ron, I'm really not that cool. Sandler is the world's largest sales coaching and training organization. And I took Sandler 13 years ago as a client and used it as my sales process. And then 3 years ago, I was looking for a change, and my coach came to me and said, you're a natural networker. You know everybody in the Detroit area. You know Sandler, you know sales. You're a whore for public speaking. Why don't you come try this? And so I use the Sandler process to sell Sandler to people that I then teach and train them in the Sandler process. And the biggest secret sauce in this, if there is one, Ron, it's that we don't want to sound like our competition. We want to build a relationship with the people that we want to work with, and we want to see if we have a solution for a problem that they have. I always go back to the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. Do you remember the movie with Alec Baldwin? A, B, C, always B, closing. God, I just cringe when I hear that. And Ron, we've all had it happen to us. We have somebody out to the house to give us a quote for shingles or siding, concrete leveling, septic, whatever. And it's all or nothing. Either all they do is tell us that, well, we've been in business for 25 years and we've got this ranking on Angie's List and we've got this Google review and we're bonded and we're licensed, we're insured. Here's your proposal. Call me if you'd like to do business with us. Or all they talk about is the features and benefits of the materials they use and the companies they use and the products that they use, and try to close to the point where you just want to throw them off the front porch. It drives me crazy because they sound like no contractor is ever going to call a customer and go, hey, I got your lead off my website, said you were interested in some work. Let me tell you a little bit about us. Well, our quality, suspect at best. Our communication, horrible. My subs, normally high, if not drunked. Most of them aren't insured. And by the way, I don't even have a license, right? Nobody says that. They all say the exact same thing, so they all sound alike. So the biggest thing in our secret sauce is we try to help build a relationship with the people. People buy from people they like, Ron, right? That's number one. You're not going to buy from somebody that creeps you out or that gives you a bad vibe or that you just don't trust. So people buy from people they like. And we talk about how we build relationships with people. Ron, you're a high energy guy. And on this call, I'm talking with my hands and I'm raising my voice and I'm speaking fast. But if you're a homeowner and you're much more reserved, and you talk in quieter tones with a slower rate of speech, I need to make sure that I'm respecting that and that I'm matching it and that I'm mirroring it and that I'm making you feel comfortable with what you're doing. Look, we're in sales, right? We are there not to fool anybody or trick them or be dishonest with them. We're there to make sure that they feel comfortable with us. So match and mirror them and have open communication with them. The biggest thing that I teach in any of my classes, we call it the upfront contract, or the UFC. No, not the Ultimate Fighting Championships, even though I'm a big fan of that. But the UFC that we teach is 5 steps in the process. And so any conversation you're going to have, and I worked with a guy that did septic systems. And I remember the day that he called and said he wanted more information about the sales coaching I do, because he's got his 3,500 diesel Ram with the Cummins, and he's got a trailer behind that. And on that trailer, he's got his backhoe, and he drove 45 minutes to somebody's house only to have them say, oh, you know what? My husband's not here. He's really the one you need to talk to. Can you come back tomorrow? So again, 45 minutes back, tried to get out there the next day. He couldn't because he was on a job site. Tried to get out the next day. And then the husband said, well, you weren't ready when I needed you, so sorry about your luck. 90 minutes of gas, diesel, 90 minutes out of his life. He just knew there had to be a better way. And so in the upfront contract, there's 5 things we cover. The first one is the purpose. Why are we getting together? Why are we meeting? I need to know what you want. Is it just a quote? Is it work today? Is it work in 6 months? Is it an emergency? Septic guy, is there poop in your backyard? Or is this like you're getting estimates because you want to build a pole barn with a bathroom in it next year and you're trying to get some, like, we got to understand why we're getting together. We have to be on the same page for what the purpose is. Second thing we cover is the time. Hey, we should talk in a couple of weeks. That's not covering time. I will be at your home Tuesday at 6 p.m. and this will take an hour. That is time. I need to meet, Ron, with you and your wife. Is there any reason one of you has to leave early for soccer practice or something at church or whatever it might be? Are you both going to be there for the whole hour? Because if one of them says no, we reschedule. Don't want to have that. Ron, funny story. I'm legally colorblind. I am not going to pick any colors on anything in our house. And I had a carpet guy come out and I told him, I don't know if it's a good idea to come out on this date because my wife's not home. You should probably come out when she's here. And he insisted he was coming out. Nope, that's the day. Drove almost an hour to get here. And no matter how much I told him I'm colorblind, I'm not picking anything and placing an order today, he just wouldn't take no for an answer until I finally just said, God, I don't know what you think I'm going to do. My wife is going to kill me if I spend 10 grand on carpet and it doesn't match the paint, the walls, like, understand who has to be a part of the decision to make sure that they're present and that they're going to be present for the whole time you need. Third thing I cover in the process, Ron, I would encourage all your guys to write down this exact quote. What is their agenda? Ask them, what were you hoping to get out of this meeting? Because, Ron, you know what the biggest thing that people will tell you if you ask them what they're hoping to get out of the meeting? They're going to tell you what they're hoping to get out of the meeting. They might want to see before and after work. They might want to see a copy of your license. They might want to have referrals for people you've worked with. They might want to see previous work. They might want you to bring colors or samples or, whatever it might be. But you don't want to drive an hour out there only to go, oh, yeah, I can get that for you next time. Fourth part of the upfront contract, my agenda. And this is where I get to tell them, look, we're going to talk about your project. And included in that, I'm going to need to know things like, what's your budget? What's your timeline? Have you seen any other projects that you like that you can send to me now so I can get an idea of it? Who's going to be involved in the decision? Do you have financing? Do you have permits? Do you have a homeowners associate? Like giving them the homework of what you're going to be asking them. Now that avoids the problem of them going, I haven't thought about that. We need to think about that and get back to you. And then the fifth part of the upfront contract, Ron, and this is the best part, because again, go back to Glengarry Glen Ross, always be closing. Sales guys have a bad reputation. Ron, think of every stereotype you hear about sales guys. Used car salesman, shyster, con artist, snake oil sale. Like, there's a bad reputation against the sales industry because there are crooks out there. So here's what we agreed to in the upfront contract on the phone before I schedule the appointment and going out to your house. Here's the acceptable outcomes. Ron, at the end of our meeting, if we're not the right contractor for you, or they're not the right septic company, roofer, side, whatever it might be, can you promise me you'll tell me no? Rip the Band-Aid off, just say it to my face. We'll shake hands, we'll part ways as friends. The reverse psychology of that and the fact that sales guys are always closing. And if the first thing I do is give them permission to tell me no and that I will take the no and go on my way, it eliminates a lot of the chasing. It eliminates so much of the, hey, left you a voicemail on Friday. Hey, it's Monday. Wanted to see if you had a chance to look over that design. Hey, I'll be at your neighbor's house on Tuesday. Wanted to know if I should swing by. Like, tell me no. I get told no a lot. Close the file, move on. Second part of this, Ron, I get to tell them no. I get to look them in the eye and say, look, Ron, please understand that we're not the right contractor for every job. And if for whatever reason, I don't think we can do the work up to your standards or at your budget, please understand it's nothing personal if I tell you no. I just don't want to get out over my skis or overpromise and underdeliver. Again, Ron, the reverse psychology of that, where they go, well, what do you mean I'm not good enough for you? What do you mean I don't get to work with you? I've got money. My money's green. Last part is, if I don't tell you no and you don't tell me no, Ron, we agree on what a yes looks like. And a yes could be anything from anybody. A yes could be, we'll take a deposit. A yes could be, we'll move into design. A yes could be, you're placing an order. A yes could be, you're scheduling time for my estimator to come out. But as long as everyone is on the same page with those 5 things, the purpose of the meeting, the timing of the meeting, who has to be there as well, your agenda, my agenda, and things that we've agreed as acceptable outcomes before I get off the phone, I've just built trust with you. You know you can tell me no, and I'll take the no and I'll move on. You know I might not be able to work with you. I'm not going to waste your time or try to sell you something I can't do. And even better, we're on the same page for what a yes looks like. That avoids so much I just need the weekend to think it over. Just kind of run it by my dad. He used to be a building inspector. Just want to check 3 more prices. I got 2 more guys coming out next week and I want to compare 3 quotes. All the things that we've all heard. That's why I love working with the construction guys, because they're in your home. They're in your kitchen. They're meeting with you and the wife and the kids and petting the dog, talking about a project. It could be a roof. It could be siding. It could be an addition. It could be a custom build. But damn, they've just wasted so much time over the years doing a design that gets shopped to their competition that goes, yeah, he quoted me $80K. Can you do it for 60? Great, thanks. Quoting a roof. Yeah, this is his estimate. Can you beat it? We know what happens. How do we know what happens, Ron? Because we get our competition's quotes too. So if I have a secret sauce, Ron, that's it. Teaching my guys to have an upfront contract, to build rapport with the people, get on the same page that we like and we trust each other. And if we can make money with a client and help them with a problem they have, we should do business honorably and ethically. And if we can't, take the note, close the file, ask for a referral, move on. That was lengthy. I didn't think you realized I was going to get that deep.
Hey, I that was fire, man. That was awesome. I think that, you know, that is a secret sauce. You just killed it. There's a lot of guys listening that can take that and run with it, because it really is about having that conversation up front. I think we get too worked up about going out to give an estimate or something, and we don't just take the time to just not just be us, but just be real, like,
Yeah.
and have a process and have a system. And it's okay to have a process and a system when it comes to sales. It's not salesy, or it's not, you're not some salesperson because you have a system. You get sales because you have a system, and they're the right sales in my mind.
And Ron, the thing is, every one of your listeners that's in the industry, they have a system when it comes to building, right? You're not going to bring in your finish guys before you bring in your excavator. You're not going to try to pour your concrete before after you've actually done the rough. Like, you go in a specific order, that when A happens, then B happens. When B happens, then C happens. Because we know it doesn't make sense to call in the electrician after the drywall's done, right? There is an order and process that things have to be done. Sales is no different. Sales is the same thing. And if you have a repeatable process that you stick to, you can actually get better at it and realize where something took longer than it should have, or where we can get better for the next one, or why we might have lost the deal based on we forgot a step, like talking to them about budget. Here's a famous one. And again, I go back to my buddy Kurt that I was working with. He got all excited. He got a phone call a couple weeks back. Woman called and said, I'm new kitchen, want to do a new deck, want to have like an indoor-outdoor kitchen thing. We like to host, we like to entertain. I think she had 150 grand for the project. And he's ready to drive out there and meet with her and find out all this stuff. This is in like end of April. And when he finally goes, so, when is your timing for this project? When are you hoping to have it finished? And she said, well, my daughter's a senior and her graduation party's in 3 weeks. Can you have it done by then? Like, dodged a bullet on that one. He was about to drive to her house a half hour away, all excited about the dollar amount, not realizing that, lady, I can't pull permits in the amount of time that you want this project done. You're a year late. Stuff like that, teaching these guys to have a process, build a relationship with the person, put in an upfront contract so everyone's on the same page, understand what their pain is, what their problem is, because everyone's going to be different, right? What the problem they bring you is not normally the real problem they have. Why do they want a new kitchen? Well, the old one's old. Why do they really want a new kitchen? Keeping up with the Joneses next door. Or grandma might be moving in with us and we need something safer. Or, well, we're pregnant, we've got another kid on the way and we want to get this done. Like, find out what their motivation is, the why behind the what. Because the what's easy. All your competitors in construction, they can do the what. What do you want? A new roof. What do you want? A new kitchen. What do you want? New siding. Let's find out why. And once we find out why, let's talk budget. Let's talk money. Then let's make sure we're talking to the right decision makers. Do you have to have it approved by a homeowners association? Is there a rich uncle paying for it? You know this. The who, what, where, when, why, and how, the decision making process is vital. And then the process of actually presenting your plan. And then post-sell, making sure they understand, now that you've given me a deposit, here's how construction is going to go. We communicate with this platform. We communicate with this software. My subcontractors are like, there's so many other hands and people that go into some of these jobs that you have to explain to the person, now that you've gotten their check, what you're going to do to keep them happy. Because happy people send you referrals. And referrals are so much easier to close than cold calls. So yeah, your guys already have a process. They just might not have one around sales, and I bring the two of them together. We have a running joke here because I'm in Detroit. Drouin's clients, they're the kind of guys that wear Carhartt, and they're the kind of guys that say the F word a lot. So the Carhartt F-bomb is my audience.
Well, so some amazing things you said there, and Patrick Robertson, he was on here like episode 3, I think, and he's a builder, does high-end builds, and he said the exact same thing. It's like the what is easy. Like that's the easiest part of all of construction is actually doing the project, doing the roof or doing the renovation. Like that stuff is pretty standard across the board, but it's doing all the stuff that you're talking about on the front end in that customer experience where a lot of times we end up missing the ball because we just don't set ourselves up for success.
You know, I go back to that carpet project that my wife and I did. You know, the first guy that came in, not only was he trying to close me, he was talking about all the things that I didn't care about. I didn't care about thread count. I didn't care about stain master this. I didn't care about padding. I didn't like, you know what I wanted around? I wanted a happy wife. And we had the original carpet that the house was built in, and it was gross. And we entertain all the time. We are the first couple in our group of friends that bought a house. So the New Year's Eve party, our house every year. First couple of all the brothers and sisters that got married and had kids. So we host every Christmas and every Thanksgiving and everything else. And 6-7 times a year, my wife was mortified at how dirty and nasty the carpet looked for us entertaining people. All I needed out of this guy was keep it under 10 grand, around 10 grand, and make sure it's done before the next major holiday. Anne Marie can pick everything else, but those are the 2 things I needed because happy wife, happy life. Right? Like why did I want new carpet? Nothing to do with thread count, stain master this, made in this country with this fiber material, synthetic, like don't care. The more you talked about to me, he was like the teacher in Charlie Brown, right? Wah, 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 wah. Like, don't care. Those are not the features and benefits that you're going to get me to move with your company. We can do it before this date and keep it around this price. And I will make sure that I work with your wife on picking a color that she's happy with. Done. Where do I send the check? Done. Right?
It's amazing. It's amazing that you bring up carpet because we did carpet one time. And the only concern really was my wife had been to one of her friends' houses and their carpet was super soft and it was just nice on the feet. And like that is all that mattered.
Yeah.
We had this person, it wasn't getting that. Like I just said, like, here's the deal. I will write you the check if you can produce something that is a soft carpet and had like what my wife's talking about. And they kept, well, this is the most economic model, or this is almost long lasting. And I was like, you don't understand. Like, I don't care about any of that. What I care about is when my wife takes her shoes off, walks across it, she has the experience she's looking for.
Yeah.
And then I go to Home Depot and I explain this to somebody there in the carpet area. And they're like, oh yeah, this right here is what you want. You want this pad with this carpet. It will produce that outcome. I said, all right, let's do it. Let's get it installed. And my wife picked out the color and it was awesome. And it turned out perfect. But I did waste however much of my life trying to explain to somebody that could have closed the sale if they would have just said, this right here is what you want, and this is why, and it's going to create this outcome.
Yeah. And again, listen to the customer. What do they want? They wanted soft carpet. What did they want? They wanted it done by the next big holiday. You know, I go back to when my wife bought her new Jeep Grand Cherokee long wheelbase, right? We're in Detroit, so I got to bring up cars. Had to fit in the garage. She's a Catholic school teacher. And you know what? Getting up at 6 a.m. with snow in Michigan and having to clean off the car ain't going to happen. So it had to fit in the garage. Had to have a heated steering wheel. Had to have 3 rows of seats because we have 3 kids and 3 kids in one row on a 9-hour road trip. They're going to kill each other. And as the guys try to tell her that this Jeep is trail rated for your off-road needs, and here's the towing package. And she's like, am I on camera? Like, I don't own jet skis. We don't own a boat. We don't own a camper. I don't tow anything. Why are you trying to convince me of the towing capabilities of the Hemi versus the, like, are you listening to what I'm saying? So you're right. You know, find out, build a relationship with them. What do they want and why do they want it? Be upfront and build a relationship with them. Sales isn't that hard. I mean, we get told no a lot, but if you have a process, like I said, just like your guys, they won them when they got in the business, whether as an apprentice or a gopher or whatever it might have been. They didn't know everything. They had to learn. Someone had to teach them. And now that they know, they do it the right way every time. I'm the same way in sales. I just like working with contractors. Like I said, guys that wear Carhartt and drop the F-bomb, I love working with them because they're honest people and they want to do honest work and they're sick of having their time wasted.
Awesome, man. Well, it has been great talking to you today. You definitely dropped a lot of knowledge and a lot of fire when it comes to sales and that setting up, and just thank you. This is going to be an amazing episode. It's going to help a lot of guys. So if anybody wanted to find out how to get a hold of you, or where do they do that?
Yep. So let me spell my last name. D as in Delta, Rouin, Chris Drouin. I'm on LinkedIn. Find me there. Call my cell phone, 248-238-2460. I'm based out of Detroit, Michigan. I also have an office in Lansing, Michigan, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. I can't technically prospect and cold call and market out of the state because we're a franchise. But if I get an inbound call from somebody that listens to this and says, hey, Drew, and heard you on with Ron, I got some more questions for you, love to help them. I can put them in touch with the local office. I can work with them on Zoom calls. I don't care. And I do a lot of free webinars. So if they want to get on our mailing list, we do stuff on prospecting. We do stuff on networking. We do stuff on negotiations. We just kind of see what the temperature is going on. How to hire salespeople was a good recent one. We do a lot of free webinars. And then obviously I get hired by people to coach and train. So Chris Drouin on LinkedIn, call my cell phone, chris.drouin@sandler.com. Sandler.com is our website. Sandler like Adam Sandler, but not just spelled the same way. Like I said, I like helping people. I get to help people change lives, and it's really cool.
I can definitely tell you love to help people, and all the free resources and stuff you put out there is amazing. You truly are helping the industry and helping, the guys that wear Carhartts and use the F-bomb a lot. That's amazing. I love it. Everything you said has been absolutely fantastic today. So thank you.
Absolutely. And here's the funny thing. I'm going to send this, and I've already sent it to some of my guys that do remodeling or HVAC or septic, and they're all going to laugh because this is probably the longest they've heard me talk without swearing. And they will give me a hard time and get a kick out of it. But, I've been a champion of the Champions podcast. I've been sharing this with my clients and friends because I really appreciate what you're doing for the guys in the industry. I say guys in guys, girls, whatever. It's great. And I love what you do for them. So thank you.
Well, it's all about getting the knowledge out there. There's so many people that have so much knowledge, and we should just take a benefit of it and get it out there and let it be there. And what you just did with the 5 steps, that's gold. That's amazing information that this episode would continue to live on and do amazing things for years to come. And that's what I love about it, is we get to have this conversation and it just lives on. And it just stays there, and it's on. The guys continue to benefit from us having a 30-minute conversation. To me, it's absolutely mind-blowing.
Love it. Thanks again for having me, Ron.
Awesome, man. Thank you. All right, construction champions, that's the end of another fantastic episode where we started to learn about the sales process. Now, Chris didn't dive deep into what it's like to be in the homeowner's house, but he gave you actionable items that you can take today to set that experience up so it's a lot better the next time you're there. It's a foundation to build off of for your sales process. We all have to start somewhere. Like Chris said, we have a process when it comes to doing our projects. It's time to also have a process. If I can spit it out, I might need a process on how to talk, but it's about time we have a process on the sales cycle. So that consistency will breed the same results time after time again. It's what ends up happening. The more comfortable you get with it, the better you become. Go back and listen to episode 1, and then listen to this episode today. I have a feeling I'm a little bit better now than I was on episode 1. It's because I'm putting in the reps. And that's the same thing that will happen if you start to implement this stuff into your business and into your sales process like we talked about today. So, construction champions, share the podcast with your network. Go check out our sponsors. Go check out our people that are around us. Join the Construction Champions Mastermind group on Facebook, where we're bringing together listeners and the host in one place and creating a conversation around being a construction champion. So go do it. I'm super excited for you guys and what you're going to do with this information in this episode. So until next time, go be the construction champion you were meant to be. Hey, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and I'm here to talk about your customers' number one complaint. Communication. You know, it's never the work. It's never the guys. It's always, I wish you would have told me, or I wish I would have known. And it's not that we want to be bad communicators. It's just there hasn't been a system in place to allow us to do that. Well, enter NutNest. So what we have built is a customer communication platform to get all of your documents, pictures, and communication in one spot and then organized by job. So go check out nutnest.com today, NUTTNEST, and completely change your communication with your homeowners and leave them with a remarkable experience that they will tell their friends and family about every day.